Welcome to my podcast, Scientist Free from Religion. This podcast has as proposal, as main idea to talk about the scientific topic, but also talk about religion. Different from the common assumption in which science and religion should be separated, here on this podcast we recognize formally that science and religion are not disconnected. Sadly, religion can be a very big threat to science. So on this podcast, the proposal is to talk about it freely, so without fear, without the illusion that they are separate topics. So we are going to cover a possible topic. Most of them will be focused on the connection between religion and science, especially to defend science. That's our goal. Our goal here is to defend science from religion and to help to make science, to spread scientific thinking, especially to defend it against religion.
Creationism is not harmless. How Evangelical Dogma is poisoning education in Brazil. While Europe has largely confined creationist views to religious margins, Brazil is facing a dangerous surge in the infiltration of creationist ideology into public discourse and education. Nearly 40% of Brazilians reject evolution, believing instead in a literal interpretation of Genesis, that humans were created by God in their present form within the last 10,000 years. This is not merely a cultural quirk. It is the symptom of a broader, well-orchestrated evangelical strategy. Creationism as educational infiltration. Creationism is not just a belief. It is a vehicle for ideological colonization. When injected into school curricula, it undermines scientific literacy by rejecting foundational principles in biology, geology, and cosmology, trains students to conflate faith with empirical evidence, sabotaging critical thinking skills, redefines science to accommodate supernatural explanations, undermining the scientific method itself. In this sense, creationism functions as religious authoritarianism cloaked in academic respectability, a Trojan horse for Christian nationalism. Brazil versus Europe. The cultural divide. In Europe, particularly in secularized nations like Sweden, France, and the Netherlands, evolution is broadly accepted. Religious influence in public education has been minimized through centuries of secular struggle. In contrast, Brazil is witnessing the explosive growth of evangelical Protestantism, especially in economically vulnerable communities, where churches often step in as de facto providers of social services. As a result, evangelical blocs wield increasing influence in Brazilian politics. Politicians openly advocate for Bible-based science education. Creationism is being introduced in public schools, sometimes supplanting evolution entirely. The American export evangelical culture. War Brazil is not alone. Evangelical fundamentalism, particularly from the U.S., has become a cultural export, spreading anti-science rhetoric across Latin America and Africa. Creationism is part of a broader culture war strategy. Manufacture a moral crisis, vilify secularism, and install religious dogma as public policy. In Africa, the legacy of missionary colonialism continues to shape education policy. John Lennox, a Christian apologist, once cited an unnamed atheist who supposedly warned that without Christian evangelism, Africa would be left with Nike, the witch doctor, the mobile phone, and the machete. This quote reveals an insidious logic, that Christianity is the only bulwark against barbarism. It's a deeply colonialist and paternalistic framing, one that erases the rich philosophical, medical, and scientific traditions of pre-Christian societies. Creationism as epistemological violence. The problem isn't just that creationism is wrong. It's that it teaches students to distrust reason itself. It installs a form of intellectual obedience, where questioning is framed as rebellion, and faith trumps evidence. This has consequences far beyond biology classes. A society that cannot understand evolution is unlikely to comprehend pandemics, climate change, or even basic public health. a threat to democracy. When religion infiltrates education, it doesn't just miseducate, it reshapes the civic imagination. A classroom that teaches Genesis as fact is not producing informed citizens. It is producing subjects of a theological regime. This erosion of secular education is a direct threat to democracy, scientific progress, and individual autonomy. Conclusion: fight for the curriculum. Fight for the future. Creationism is not a benign alternative worldview. It is an anti-intellectual movement masquerading as faith-based education. In Brazil, in Africa, and in the US, it serves as a weapon of cultural domination and epistemic sabotage. If we do not push back, we risk raising generations more loyal to myth than to reason. Education is not neutral. Either it is grounded in evidence and inquiry, or it becomes a tool of indoctrination. The choice is ours.
Hey there, you arrived to the end of this episode. You can always check out my YouTube channel and also keep watching because there are 7 episodes. So you just if you enjoyed this one, hopefully you are going to enjoy the next one. I always like to remember that you can support my work by buying my books. Even though I still don't have a book about religion, which is the main topic of the podcast, I do have a book about artificial intelligence, and also I have a blog called Scientists Free from Religion on Medium, and there are several blog posts there, and you can enjoy it, you can read it, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can share it with your friends. So hopefully I can hear from you and hope you had an amazing time. So hope to see you in the next episode.